So now we'll go to Chalcolithic culture. So what actually the word Chalcolithic mean? Copper tools. So any metal other than iron. So we see it in Chalcolithic phase. So what you should actually know is that how Chalcolithic phase or the Harappan civilization were they same or were they different or were they simultaneously existing together? If so, in which part of the India, which part of the country? And we'll also see were they pre-Harappan or post-Harappan. Okay, what you have to understand is, let me give you a brief. So I think what you should know is that Chalcolithic settlements in India can be categorized at places, wherein they were pre-Harappan. So pre-Harappan means Harappan date coincides at 2500 BC to 1900 BC. So pre-Harappan is in and around 3000 BC. Post-Harappan, that is after 1900 BC. Even then we see few of the Chalcolithic settlements in India that coincides with in and around 1500 to 1000 BC. So even there were settlements of Chalcolithic, period which were seen around 1000 BC also. And during simultaneously when Harappan period existed in the Indus Valley, there were settlements in India which coexisted, that is simultaneously, in other parts of India. So which were these settlements? So we'll study with the place which was associated with these structures. For example, Jorve is a place in Maharashtra, Jorve culture. Malwa is a place in Madhya Pradesh, Malwa culture. Depending upon the place it is associated with, we give a name to the culture of Chalcolithic. Okay, there are multiple places which it is associated with. Okay, we'll see. In this Chalcolithic settlements, we'll be seeing importance of Chalcolithic phase, what actually these people were using, how different is it from Neolithic phase. What you have to understand is that the main importance or difference from that of the bronze period of Harappan, and this is actually just copper. These people did not know the usage of tin, mixing tin with copper in order to create bronze. This is the greatest limitation of Chalcolithic people. How different is Harappan from that of Chalcolithic? What should you tell? Usage of tin with copper to create an alloy called as bronze. This was the greatest limitation of whose? Who are we talking about? Chalcolithic people. So, what was the importance of this phase? What actually these people did? How different were these people from that of any other phases that we have read? And we'll also know the limitations. Already have said up, it is in a word of description. The copper hoards and the ochre colored pottery phase. As I've already told you, ochre is a reddish tinge. Okay, so ochre colored pottery phase. This ochre colored pottery, it also had few of the white lines which were occasionally drawn over the pots. Okay, this was the significant observation which can be seen in Chalcolithic settlements. This is the basic feature. Artha agidya? What actually the chapter is trying to tell you? Okay, this is the expectation of the chapter. We'll get into it. Okay. So the settlements, we'll discuss the settlements first. You can observe few of the places of Maharashtra, that is Jorve, Nivasa, Daimabad, Ahmednagar of Maharashtra, Chandoli, Sonagaon and Inamgaon of especially the Pune part, that is also Maharashtra. We define two of the important cities, that is one from Maharashtra, the other from Madhya Pradesh, the Jorve culture and the Malvan culture. So you can observe the time period here, it is around 1700 to 1400 BC, and the Malvan culture which was a little earlier, that is around 1900 BC onwards. Okay, so these were the Chalcolithic cultures. So how did these cultures define and how these cultures operated? And we also see that not just in Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, we see two of the places renowned for Chalcolithic culture, that is Ahar and Gilund. We'll even call this as Ahar culture. There was a slight difference in Ahar culture. You can see that they were not using even a single microlith tool made of stone. They were only making use of copper tools. That is the major difference of Ahar people, Ahar culture. So why was this? They had a mine which was very nearby, Khetri. So this is Where does this place actually is located? It is at Rajasthan, near to K3 mines. That is the reason they were easily getting the copper. And these people were so, well and a good developed sense of the copper metallurgy and a smelting process. Smelting is a process in which you extract the copper, separate it from the other metals, right? So they were very well versed with the metallurgy process and smelting of copper. This is the difference between Ahar people. Okay, so Jorwe is a place in Maharashtra, Jorwe culture. Malwa is in Madhya Pradesh, Vindhyan region. Okay, and we also see, I had told you that, so Chalcolithic culture can be sometimes, it coexisted along with the bronze culture of Harappa simultaneously, right? And few of the cultures were pre-existing. It was also older than that of the Harappan period. And few were post-Harappan period also. And you have to know that which is the two centers that you can call them as completely purely Chalcolithic. Okay, one is Kalibangan, which actually literally translates to black bangle. Bangan is bangle. Okay, Kali, black bangle, which is located at good, and Banavali at good. So these are the places where you can see only the Chalcolithic features. That is Kalibangan at Rajasthan, Banavali at Haryana. So these are the places where you can see just the features of Chalcolithic, which existed in and around 1700 to almost the Jorwe cultures period, 400 BC, in the same period. Okay. So what else do we see? What were the types of houses that were built? The houses were, I had already told you in Neolithic, we had seen it, they were made from mud and reed, right? So what were the houses here? Here, again we see the houses which were constructed of mud and stones. Okay, the houses which were constructed of mud and stones, and they were not using burnt bricks. Burnt bricks were not seen here. This is one of the quite distinctive difference between that of Harappan and Chalcolithic. So first major difference is they were not using tin for the usage of making into bronze. And the other major difference that we see is no burnt bricks here. People, you will remember, right? They were not using burnt bricks. So where do you see burnt bricks? Harappan, we see burnt bricks. So this is the major difference, right? They were not using burnt bricks. Okay. And what else is this chapter intending to tell you? There were granaries that were built in and around the house of a chief. Chief was a tribal head. Okay, a clan or a tribe. They had a chief. And granaries were built in and around the house of chief. Why? He used to protect the granary, and he used to take his, inam, that is his tax in the form of the collected grains. Okay, and there was a structure of clan. In and around the house of the chief, the other houses were built. And these structures were either in rectangular or circular shape, the same as that we had seen previously in Neolithic structures. And what else do we see? And we also see the burial structure, burial pattern. Okay, we see that they were buried in the direction of north-south. And there was no separate burial structure for these Chalcolithic people. Okay, and these people were buried under the floor. Okay, under the floor, they used to bury their relatives or whosoever was dead. There was no separate cemetery. Cemetery, what we have, smashana, right? So there was no separate cemetery as that. Okay, in Chalcolithic period. Okay, so this is what the differences are. And apart from this, have I missed anything? Okay, so one of other such example, how do you say that, what is the proof that the chief lived in the center and the other houses were in and around? In Inamgaon, in an excavation, we found that there was a excavation wherein the houses were surrounded around a particular granary and a house. Okay, this is found at Inamgaon of Pune. Okay, this actually gave us the example how actually this arrangement in the tribe had taken place, how the settlements looked like. Okay, and these people used to worship the mother goddess. How do we know that? We found the terracotta figurines of mother goddess. Okay, terracotta figurines. And those toys were found during Chalcolithic period too. Similarity between Harappa and Chalcolithic. What is the similarity? Those people were also playing, sometimes they were the worship idols, and sometimes they were also the terracotta playing things. Okay, so this was the similarity. Terracotta figurines were the similarity between Chalcolithic and Harappan people. And when did this actual Chalcolithic settlement come to an end? It ended in and around 1200 BC. Chalcolithic period saw its end in and around 1200 BC. So, what actually did you learn from this Chalcolithic people? What did we actually learn from this chapter is that these people made use of copper and made their tools. Okay, and some of the people made use of both the microlithic stone tools which were available, and some people did not use any other tools except the copper tools, that is Ahar culture. And there were two other cultures, that is Jarve and Malwa culture. And we also see this, the Chalcolithic period can be placed simultaneously coexisting along with Harappan culture, okay, and somewhere pre-Harappan and somewhere post-Harappan. And if you have to tell which actually were only using copper, the example is Kalibangan and Panavali cultures. And we see the similarities as well as the contrasting features. The two contrasting features that we actually saw was, one is not using the burnt bricks, one is using only copper for making tools, not using tin. So in and around 2800 to 2200, we see the Ganeshwar deposit, which is at Rajasthan. Okay, Ganeshwar is a place at Rajasthan. Ahar culture, Ahar is also in Rajasthan. And we see the Kayatha Chalcolithic culture of MP. I have to tell you, this Kayatha Chalcolithic culture coexisted during Harappan period simultaneously. Okay? Okay, you can see, observe here 2000 to 1800. So when was the period actually of Harappan? What is the date that we mention of Harappan? 2000. Mature phase of Harappan is 2500 to 1900 BC. So during the same period, there is this place called as Kayatha in MP, which actually correlated with the dates of Harappan culture. And we also see the Malwa culture, the Naudatoli Iran, and all these places belong to MP, Madhya Pradesh. And Chalcolithic burnt bricks, Rajasthan, this was not actually seen everywhere. Okay, burnt bricks was not the familiar picture apart from Gilund of Rajasthan, exceptions. Okay, and in and around 1400 to 700, we see Jorve culture of Maharashtra, and 1200, many Chalcolithic sites in central and east India, eastern part of India were seen, and 1200 onwards, the eclipse of Chalcolithic, that is end of Chalcolithic, in and around 1200. So this is the dates. So what is the type of pottery that we saw here? Red, that is ochre colored, with white bands over the pots, which were occasionally used. Okay, clear? So what was the type of pottery that we actually saw in Neolithic? Coarse, grey and black. So what is the type of pottery that we see in Chalcolithic? Ochre, red, right? So you should remember these.